Hello everybody and welcome to this week's edition of This Ain't Fake, Brother. It is the 30th of July 2014, episode 3 for those who are keeping count. We can only keep count for so long before we have to...
4, Neil?
As I said...
Sloopex!
That was a real Slooplex moment. Yeah, it probably is in fact episode
4, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic.
We'd like to delete the second one from memory because no one could in fact hear me. But
well,
anyway.
There's a few people who enjoyed it. Anyway, anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in, whatever means you did so by. And
you're Neil Marshall.
I am Neil Marshall. I'm joined, of course, by Kenny Murphy. And we're going to be going over all this week's news, and there's a shit ton of news, including the beginning of the end for something. And this was something that, has been projected to happen for years and years and years, and it's finally happening. I think it's probably going to be the end. Of course, talking about TNA. We'll get into that in a second. We're going to do our usual podcast recap. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw from last night, or by the time you hear this, 2 nights ago. And we're also going to talk about the first ever SmackDown. Now, not the pilot, but the first ever SmackDown that was put up on the WWE Network a couple of weeks ago. It's a fascinating, enthralling show. And I've actually been watching some 2002 editions of Raw. And I just have a little comparison between these two is the thing that stands out to me the most. So we're going to give a full recap of that. Ken has taken diligent notes on the topic.
I actually have. I made a point of taking good notes because when we were doing our Great American Bash review, I had taken notes. They were kind of sloppy and they were like words here or there instead of entire sentences. And so I ended up kind of calling it in the ring.
As you do, yes.
I don't kind of feel able to do that. I'm more of a DDP style podcaster.
Nothing wrong with that, Ken.
No, it's not.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so...
can I just say something?
Of course you can.
I'm devastated that you get to hear Stand Back every week in your headphones there while I sit here and just kind of twiddle my thumbs and try and not make any noise. Here I am banging pens on the desk as I say this. Also, I feel like every time we listen to the show, there's just not enough Vince there. You've got to sit out and let the man have his say. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Stand back.
As one might suggest, Vince himself would suggest. Listen, here's the deal with that. As Ken alluded to, I have to sit through the entrance theme. So for me to sit through the entire song would be quite an ordeal. But I
have to sit here in silence.
I'm not hearing it as loudly as you think I am.
You're still hearing it. I don't even know when we're coming in. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, listen. I vow next week we're going to listen to the entire Stand Back, one way or another.
This is the whole thing. I just
not the whole thing.
Chorus.
No, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy.
What?
I'm an all or nothing kind of guy.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Okay, so listen, let's get into some news, Ken. Okay. The first thing is the TNA and Spike deal. It came out on Sunday night that there was really major shit going down with TNA. Dixie Carter called a meeting in Nashville. The next day, Monday, it was announced that they are not renewing their deal. This has huge implications. A lot of people think that it's just maybe something as simple as shopping to another network or whatever, but no. TNA's show is financed by Spike, essentially. So
TNA is financed by Spike.
TNA is financed by Spike, and if they were to go somewhere else, it would not look, sound, taste, or feel like the TNA you know today. It's been building for years. We knew that the contract was coming up, and most reports point to the fact that one of the main reasons that this has happened is because of the Russo stuff that came out last week
in show 3. One thing I think we should just clarify for people, because you said it was announced. It wasn't announced. TMZ reported Impact is not being picked up. There's 8 weeks of the show left. Both Spike yesterday said we don't comment on ongoing negotiations, and Dixie and TNA said that that negotiations are still ongoing. The belief is that Spike know that they're kind of dropping TNA in the doo-doo, as it were, so they're trying to it's not good for Spike when they're shopping around, or for TNA when they're shopping around for it to be common knowledge that that Spike rather have cancelled them. So it's believed it's just kind of a matter of trying to keep it quiet. But I mean, it can't be kept quiet. It's out there now. It's a huge story. It's the biggest story in wrestling potentially since Benoit, if they do go out of business.
I'd say so.
Before that, the end of WCW, and I think there's two very distinct sides to it. The one is it's borderline impossible to have any sympathy for Dixie, or to have much sympathy rather for Dixie, for the Carters, for the people who've run the company, because they've run it in such, they've just they've lurched from error to error to error. It was very clear from very early on in Russo's booking tenure in sort of 2005, 2006, 2007 that wasn't going to generate income for the company. Their buy rates, the pay-per-view buys were relatively decent when they had little TV. They used to draw about 30,000 buys to shows back in 2004, 2005, which were they were good wrestling shows, and that's what they tried to put on. We had the chance to be at probably one of their best ones with what is still the best match in TNA history.
Yeah, myself and Kate we're actually we're in the front row, hard cam side of Unbreakable 2005. If you ever check that out, we're the ghastly looking pale creatures.
Yes, particularly Dave if he's listening to this. Very white.
I was fucking white as.
Come here. So anyway, point is that Russo took over the booking in 2005, 2006 sort of time. His booking led to a decline in buy rates. His booking, to be fair, it always did draw decent ratings in terms of on the TNA scale. And if you notice when Bruce Pritchard kind of took over, Russo was finally
dipped in a long time.
It did dip. The product was better. I mean, critically, it was a much better accepted product. The likes of the PW Torch, the Wrestling Observer, Pro Wrestling Insider, all thought it was a better product. I personally, there was an 18-month period between March of 2012 and October of 2013 when I thought it was just comfortably the best TV product in wrestling.
Sure. It
was just great fun, and all the while it's kind of a guilty pleasure in that it's not going anywhere. They're not generating any more money with the product, and they took the show on the road for a while. They were spending $600,000 on every TV taping on the road every second week. But yeah, so they've lurched kind of from one disaster to another, and the most recent of them was bringing back Vince Russo in a creative consultancy role, but lying to all the wrestlers, to their TV partners, to the Japanese business partners about this. And it seems as though negotiations were kind of on the edge with Spike. I think Spike were probably trying to get a lower deal, and negotiations seem to have been teetering. Will they, won't they? Because at this stage, it's very late in the game for a deal to be done for a show that's going to be 7-8 weeks from now.
That's very true. What people aren't taking into consideration as well, when TNA are shopping around, this is the fall season, which is the
late September, early October.
It's the seasonally, it's the biggest. The biggest shows come back or debut in the fall season. So pretty much anybody who's anybody within the cable industry in the States has their fall season lineup not only solidified, but they're already advertising it.
So as I was saying, on that side of things, the business model, they've overspent. Remember in 2010 when they tried to take on WWE going on Monday nights, which was suicidal. They brought in Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, they had Kurt Angle, they had Sting, they had Mick Foley, they had Kevin Nash, they had Scott Hall, they had X-Pac, they had all these guys who they were paying millions to. This was coming off 2009, which is believed to have been the only year that they ever actually made money in the company's existence. And they bloated themselves. They've lost. Dave Meltzer was reporting largely, vastly in excess of $45 million in their existence.
That was a figure that came out a few years ago.
Yeah, 2009, 2010. So probably double that. Could be double that.
Yeah, it easily could be. People might believe that, but it could be. It's all goes back to this Russo thing, like this fixation that he is the only man for the job, and it's just finally ruined them. And it's amazing that we'll look back years from now if this is the end, and it very much will be the end, I think, and I think you'd agree. But that Vince Russo is going to be a huge part of boat number 2 companies closing.
And he'll be telling you, bro, I tell you, and he'll be telling a totally different story.
It didn't go down the way I wanted it to.
I'm not convinced that he wouldn't somehow resurface with Jeff Jarrett, because Jeff Jarrett
is very good friends with him.
He was the guy who brought him on board with TNA.
Exactly, yeah.
But anyway, I want to get to the other side of things. It's very difficult to have any sympathy with TNA. They've done this themselves, okay? It's enormously sad for the people who work there. I mean, there are guys, I look at, particularly guys who come to my mind are Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, James Storm, good, solid wrestlers, good characters, good promos, guys who are made for this business, who, if Jarrett can get off the ground, maybe they'll have somewhere, but WWE is not taking these guys who are, if they didn't take AJ, who's the best of the bunch.
This was my next question to you. Who, if they didn't take AJ, is there anybody, seriously, is it the most likely candidates to come back in order? Jeff Hardy, Kurt Angle in some capacity, and Brother Ray.
Bully Ray, I don't see Bully. Bully's over. If a Bully is in his 40s, he has a lot of political enemies.
Yes, he does.
He's still Randy Orton.
Hunter, I don't believe is a fan.
Yeah, well, there you go. And he's, I mean, there's another guy. That guy, whatever you want to say about him off camera, you know, we've heard the stories. He's just been a phenomenal talent in the last few years. His promos have just been... He's been the only guy been able to actually be a heel and actually get heat in the last couple of years. But I look at guys... I don't... You know, the guys you mentioned, Jeff Hardy, I think, is possible. I'm not sure because he's a convicted felon. They're very sensitive about publicity. So I'm not sure on that.
I definitely think they'll take him back.
I think they may. I think it's likely.
They will. Yeah.
But I just think that's something because, you know, he can't go to England. He can't go to Canada. He can't go on any of their foreign tours.
In terms of the homegrown, for lack of a better word, TNA talent, is there anybody who has a chance of going over? Bobby Roode? Surely is the
I think Bobby,
prime candidate.
I'm gonna break kayfabe here, and I don't have the Dave Meltzer memory where you know, it was interesting. I was listening to the Dave show the other night, and he was talking about Jesse Ventura. And I had been Googling Jesse Ventura the night before, watching a WWE Clash of the Champions show with him and Jim Ross on commentary where they're discussing each other's age. And so...
Fantastic.
Jesse's a year older than JR, so I happened to know when he was born. And Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer were discussing the trial, you know, the one that Jesse Ventura is involved in.
Yes, I do.
And Dave's like, Jesse was born in 1963, so that makes him... And I was just like... So anyway, I don't know when Bobby Roode was born, but the point is, I think he may be too old. I look at guys almost... lower on the card. I look at guys like Robbie E, Jesse Goddard, Zema Ion as more likely because they're guys who go and spend 6 months in NXT.
Okay.
Whereas someone like a Bobby Roode, Bobby Roode's 37. He's not going to WWE.
Bad news.
But my point is, I look at guys like the three I've just named. I know that's the bromance, not very inventive thinking of me. But my point is, I look like at guys like them as guys who might have a chance to get an NXT deal and see where they go. Those three are all talented dudes, but I mean, even look at someone like Michael Hutter, Ethan Carter III. He was cut by WWE. He's been the find for TNA in the past year. He's been a really entertaining character. He's a good heel, good smarmy heel, great body, great look, good worker, and I mean, they've cut him once. They're not taking him back. You know
I didn't think they would.
But then the bigger story, I think, for me, for people listening to this is, and maybe not for you actually, but for wrestling fans, it's content lost. And I mean, you know, I was reading some stats by Mookie Ghana of the Wrestling Observer website fame. Yeah, you know who Mookie is, yeah,
of course.
Who did he did one of his many graphs. Mookie is, for those who don't know, he's
a statistician.
Yeah, he's a statistician of the Wrestling Observer website. And he looks at anything and everything, including match quality in terms of graphs and all that kind of thing. And over the previous decade, between 2013 and 2003, if you look at the star ratings for the matches in WWE and TNA, TNA was 2.57 was their average star rating. WWE was 2.60. The point being, the match quality in TNA has never been the problem, and they've produced a number of phenomenal wrestling matches over the year, and we'll lose that. You know,
you did say, you looked at me and you said, will I care?
You don't watch TNA so much.
I watch the pay-per-views because I really enjoy in-ring TNA, but I can't put my poor old brain that's one day going to be rotting in the soil through a TNA show because I just think it's a waste of life. I can't do it to myself. You know,
the TV show.
Yeah, I couldn't. I've tried.
They have a good TV show. You know.
Look, listen, it's so hit and miss. No, in all fairness,
it is very hit and miss.
And look, maybe we will. Maybe all is not lost in terms of future. In terms of future matches, Ken. Yes, it's not looking good. But is there a chance that we are going to get this 2.56 star rating? On average on the WWE network? I think there's a likely chance.
That is the thing, kind of, for me, that's almost the great news because,
yes,
you know, I didn't see that much TNA. It's not like, it's only in the last few years it's
just for the gaffs even would be incredible.
Say again?
Just for the gaffs. Like, here's the thing that people aren't thinking of. People are thinking, well, maybe you are, but when I've been reading the reaction to the idea that WWE could buy this tape library, it's all about, oh my god, you know, the pay-per-views will be great to watch this. WWE having ex-TNA people do a worst of TNA on the Countdown show and stuff like that. Yeah. That is where I can't wait to see how are WWE going to treat TNA. Like, WCW at least they acknowledge them. Yes, yeah, never acknowledged. How do they treat them?
There were people on the internet floating a TNA invasion, which it's almost...
Oh, I never even thought of that because I feel it's so unlikely.
Yeah, but I mean, it is, but because of how they treat them, I think it's unlikely. But I mean, you know, the January 4th, 2010, the night Brett returned and Hogan returned to the other channel.
Yeah,
there were 2.4 million people watched Impact at
which is incredible. They were so scared that Brett was that was 2 weeks early for Brett.
Yeah,
he was supposed to be there 2 weeks.
But the point is that was 2.4 million people watched Impact. But there was about an 18-month period where TNA was closer to 2 million viewers than one. They had like a 1.4 1 week, which is 2 million viewers. They were doing the point is, you have 3 million homes and about 4 million people that watch Raw. About half of them have probably been regular viewers of Impact at one point in time. So it's not like to do a TNA invasion, which would bring in guys like Bobby Roode, James Storm. I think you'd need to bring AJ in.
You'd have to, yeah. AJ would feel like the sting of it if he
would, yeah.
Very much so.
It's not like there would be nothing in that. I don't think it would really draw, but it would certainly be good television. I don't see them doing it. To me, what I would look forward to having all the stuff on the network. That would be a huge positive. But before we move off the story, I think there's moving parts here. Okay, we've heard a lot of analysis of a lot of things on this, but one thing, even Dave Meltzer in his analysis has not been able to answer, and Jim Ross brought this up as well, is why are they cancelling it? Okay. TNA does about 1.4, 1.5 million viewers every week, okay, at the moment. They were hovering closer to 1 to 1.2 earlier in the year. But, they could probably get and maintain where they're at now, okay? Mm-hmm. I mean, the last decade or whatever has shown that. The Spike station average is about 800,000. So they're well above the station average. It helps them. It doesn't help them sell ad rates for those 2 hours particularly well, but it does help them sell ads for, the week based on a higher average.
Sure.
And they've cross-promoted with Bellator quite a bit, which was very successful. When they moved Bellator away from TNA, they were less successful. It feels to me as though they're very much cutting off their nose to spite their face. Why would they be doing this? I mean, I look at it and I think to myself, okay, you're Spike TV. You tell TNA we're not renewing you. TNA spends 2-3 months hunting around trying to find someone. I personally think, as been pointed out elsewhere, that if WWE could not find a home for Superstars, Main Event, or NXT, the chances of TNA finding someone that's going to pay them $12-15 million a year, which is what they were getting for Impact, are very slim. And I think at that point, they have to pull the plug. There's really no other option, right?
Yeah, no, pretty much.
So, who's to say then that the game plan is not for Spike to go, okay, we'll buy, and then they'll just restart the thing?
You think Spike might buy it?
Well, they hold all the cards. You know what I mean? Once they cancel the show, it's like if Jamie Kellner had the power to, was not working for TBS. Jamie Kellner is the guy who cancelled WCW, and then he pulls the plug, and then you can buy it at a fire sale price. You know what I mean?
I think that it just might be an issue that they look at the amount of money that they've put into the show on a weekly basis, and they look at the fact that it's doing this rating. Yeah. Mm. But
I think they could get it much cheaper. By the way,
well,
they set the price. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're looking at this. They're looking at this rating. They're not happy with their return, and I think they think that like for a show they could maybe syndicate from the past, or even like borrow, or even self-produce, that they might be able to hit a 1.1 on average, and would cost far less to make. I think there's definitely a chance of that.
I mean, I don't know if you're a Spike TV aficionado.
The reruns of Cops were getting bigger ratings.
Have you ever heard of Mansers?
No, but I can imagine.
TNA Spike does a ton of original program that does nothing.
Sure.
We're going to talk about Cops later on, but move along.
Obviously, yes, we are. Okay.
19 minutes on TNA. We're trying to get this done in 90 here. Folks,
well, it's about time we actually ignore them, and then it's just kind of like,
But isn't it funny? Last
like
week,
your great uncle, you only pay attention when he dies.
Yeah, last week Neil and I had a conversation about we should really, I was kind of pushing we should cover more TNA, and this is what I get for my
my huge sigh of relief on my behalf.
Yeah.
Drew McIntyre returned to Scotland to the that promotion that BBC did the documentary for. Did you see his shoot promo that he did when he came out?
What did he say? This is I'm cringing just hearing.
Yeah, Drew Galloway, I'm not a joke. Prince Devitt has signed officially. We knew he had signed, but they announced it officially this week. So Fergal Devitt from our very shores is going to be in NXT, and I just can't fucking wait to see what they do with him. They can't give him the Sheamus Irish gimmick.
He's about 5'6", 5'7".
He'll look about Jericho's height. Maybe if
really,
yeah,
he's that tall.
He will look about Jericho's height, I'd say.
Will he be bald? Yeah, no, I'm interested to see what happens with Fergal, and It's interesting. Becky Lynch, what's her name? Rebecca Knox.
Yes.
She was doing a stereotypical Irish gimmick in NXT, and they've dropped it.
Yeah.
So hopefully that bodes well for Fergal. I mean, I wouldn't even have anything against him coming in as a heel with Sheamus and Becky Lynch's, a heel stable.
That'd be fine. Well,
I think not so. I don't think he needs to go so heavy with the Irish stuff.
No, I don't think so. But you see the way he's been painting his body recently. I think that's a huge part of it. I think they're going to keep that. I think they really liked it, and that was one of the reasons they went for him.
I hope that they bring him in as who he is. You know what I mean?
What do you think he has a chance of his name remaining very similar, if not the same, on account of Kenta is going to be Kenta?
No.
Why didn't Kenta be Kenta?
Because Kenta has a name in Japan, and they want to play off that to promote the network.
Fergal has a name in Japan.
That's actually true. That could be quite a good point, but Vince is on this thing wanting to own names, isn't he?
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about just asking you Kenta to get to be Kenta? Did I ever tell you I was at this party, right? And my wife's friend's boyfriend was there. And we didn't really know him that way. He's a bit older than us, but
your wife's friend's boyfriend.
Yeah, so he arrived at the party a little bit more scooped than everybody else. He'd clearly been drinking,
tired and emotional.
Yeah, he's tired and emotional. We're all just sitting around having the chats, and he's very much an arty-farty kind of guy. Wouldn't be into the football. And I was talking about my love of Steven Gerrard, and he looked at me and in all honesty said, "But do you have to be Gerrard to be Gerrard?"
What does that mean, Neil?
I've never known. And he dropped it right then and there. He said, actually, it doesn't matter.
There's just no need for that kind of carry on, you know what I mean?
Big Dave Batista's talking about obviously coming back. We know he's coming back pretty soon. He and Rock are both out pushing their movies as much as possible. Easy now.
Yeah, sorry. These
sensitive old Mike.
I spend the entire time playing with pro wrestling toys here.
He does.
No one added to the collection this week, Neil.
I thought you were gonna not kind of find me out on that. Thanks.
Oh no, I found out. Is John still here?
He's right here. See, look.
Oh,
I have him just under my mic. It's actually a really good place to have him, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually a good spot.
Disproportioned Slam City figures. So Dave says this
proportions are close to reality.
His arms are pretty big. Anyway, it's a radio show.
That's true, yeah.
So Dave said he's coming back, and this is definitely his last run. I well believe him. And there's rumblings he'll be coming back as a face.
Yeah.
That's not going to work, mate.
No, I wouldn't think so. Did you read some of his interviews? He had some stuff to say.
Tell me.
He said that he thought that Dean Ambrose is much more talented than Roman Reigns.
He's right.
That the Shield were not ready for the breakup and they're kind of floundering. He referred to the women's wrestling in current WWE is rubbish.
Fair. Well, it's been worse.
And there were some other things. He wasn't shy. And he was very close apparently to walking out in his most recent return. He just really didn't like how it went.
So yeah, a lot of it was real.
Like before Mania, I mean.
Yeah, well that's incredible. Well, like if you're gone for 4 years, you know you're getting older, you've trained in MMA, you're worried about how you're going to be received, you're told, no man, you're coming back to win the Rumble and get the belt of Mania as a babyface, and then it goes like that.
Yeah. He also mentioned that there was a lot of scuttlebutt that Punk's disappearance was over Dave getting the spot.
Sure.
And while I don't believe it was, I think that's been fairly clear that the Punk has no issue with Dave himself. It's more the situation of guys come back and take the big stakes at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And he said he reached out to Punk, rang him, texted him, and never heard back. So he doesn't know if there's issues there. So
there very well might be. Because in the aerial interview...
I think it's known that Punk has just kind of blanked off everyone in wrestling, though, isn't he?
Well, that's fair.
Foley said the same thing. Steve Austin.
Yeah. Heyman's the only guy they talk, and they don't talk about wrestling. So.
Yeah. Well, let's be honest. I'm sure they've had conversations.
Yeah, it is Heyman. No, listen, Dave... or Ariel Helwani did the interview with Punk before... During the interview that was released literally like
3 days beforehand.
Yeah.
At Punk's
and he said, he's like, the Rock thing was one thing, but at least Dave is going to be doing somewhat of a full schedule.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Okay, the Sting at Comic-Con thing was huge. Just to clarify, he still has not signed a deal.
I struggle to believe that they're not.
There's something going on because here's how
so much. Okay,
here's how we know. He was wearing the T-shirt that they're now selling on the website.
Yeah, and
that was enough for me.
There was also, Triple H teased it in his weekly interview with Michael Cole. He teased specifically a match against him himself.
And I keep telling you, I think that's the match.
So do I. Also, Vince McMahon tweeted out to people who should Sting face if he ever wrestles in WWE and all this kind of stuff. They're teasing it so heavily.
Yeah.
That when he did the appearance at the Comic-Con, they had an interview with WWE.com immediately after, where he was like, again, talking about could a deal be reached and stuff. And I just wonder if in the last month a deal has been reached, and they were all aware that there's been so much speculation about it.
It's not being reported, though. The places that we rely on are saying it still hasn't happened.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, is there a way that maybe through showing a lot of vignettes of the video game, maybe over a 3 or 4 week period, that the people in the arena start wanting him, and maybe Triple H just casually addresses it in a promo and says, "Look, we were really close to a deal, and I've just decided I'm not bringing Sting in," and then Sting starts showing up in the rafters for 6 months.
Well, that would be fucking awesome.
But you need to not overexpose Sting. He doesn't need to be coming into the ring and doing these promos. You need to recreate 1997.
But on top of that, they haven't had anything to do with Sting since they aired the one vignette for the video game. So, not on television yet. So they're clearly not, that's not in their plans at the moment, I don't think. Well, there was the Triple H thing, I suppose, on the main event, but there hasn't been anything since the week it happened.
It's also quite disappointing that the DVD set they're releasing is just a match set. That's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, it's ever good. Well, for those who didn't see Comic-Con, they had the guys out there talking about the new brand of figures. Michael Cole was anchoring it. He was actually really good. He was very off the cuff. It was just one of those things. This is why I sent it to you, Ken.
When Vince is in his ear, he has a personality.
Oh, it felt very good. They had Heyman, Bryan, and Hogan there. The highlights included...
Did Ric Flair show up drunk?
No, thankfully. The highlights included Michael Cole saying that he was in fact a Heyman guy, and if it wasn't for when Heyman ran SmackDown, and then him going, "Thank you for automatically turning me heel in front of all the people," as in, because Heyman was responsible for Michael Cole. Yeah. Bryan was incredibly charming. Hogan has been so campy since he's come back because he's always doing the Hulk Hogan voice when he's doing promos. But he was just completely like stoner Hogan, and he was very quick. He was on fire. Like, they were talking about all the domes and the mistakes at WrestleMania, and he was saying, "I blamed it on Stephanie." He said, "I was doing pre-tapes beforehand talking about Andre the Giant, and then the last minute they pulled me up to Gorilla, so I had Andre the Giant on the mind." And then he goes, then he mentioned something, so he goes, the Superdome, the crowd start chanting Silverdome, and he goes, "I thought it was the Sky Dome, brother." And then Michael Cole said something, and Hogan just turns around and just goes, "We sold out all the domes." And Daniel Bryan looked like he was dying.
So Hogan is trying to have us believe that as WrestleMania was going on air, they were doing pre-tapes for something else about WrestleMania 3.
Yeah, he said he went to Gorilla, was called away for a pre-tape, and then when he came back to Gorilla, he was flustered. That's pretty much what he said. And he said he didn't know. He said,
he didn't know.
He said didn't know what was going to go down. He said he saw Rock and Austin in the corner talking, but didn't know what was going to go down. It's like, they're just hanging out at Gorilla. Yeah. But the main highlight was at the very end of the Q&A. They went back to the Mattel guys who showed Sting, announced that
showed Sting figure. I think
showed a Sting figure. Announced that the very first time Sting would have a WWE figure, and then Sting came up and did his whole shtick and his woos, and he looked pretty good.
Isn't it? I think amazing that because he wears the face paint,
yes,
and the outfit that he wore in 1997, that if you put him in the same outfit, that covers up the entire body except the arms. Sure. And you maybe, put kind of some padding under there, some almost shoulder pads kind of gimmick.
Why wouldn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got his full pace made on. He could still be 35. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
It's his hair, actually. That's the
his hair is still borderline perfect, isn't it?
It's... if he could get a little length in it would help. He does have a big bald spot when he wrestles, though. Kind of gets
when he wrestles. But what I mean is if he's doing all his...
appearances?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks so...
That's what I mean. So it won't be until WrestleMania when
he lost
about
match. 15 pounds.
You what?
If he lost 15 pounds, if he got just flat. Oh, unbelievable. So Rock's obviously been doing the rounds. We were talking about Batista. Rock's been doing the rounds for Hercules. Have you seen it yet?
What? Sorry?
Hercules.
Have I seen the movie?
Yes.
No, I won't see that in the cinema.
Okay. He's been doing the rounds, and he's been talking about if he did a match at WrestleMania 31. And
Is this the one with Ray Hernandez in it, yeah?
Ray Hernandez?
Hercules Hernandez. Anyway.
Sorry about that, guys. I forgot about Hercules Hernandez.
I was watching Hercules Hernandez under a hood as the Super Invader, Clash of Champions 18 before I came over, Neil.
There it is.
Professionalism.
Of course.
Reparation.
So, Rock's been talking about who he could potentially go against at WrestleMania 31, and obviously he talks about the idea at WrestleMania 30 was to be him and Brock, and they were going to shoot the angle the night after WrestleMania 29, but because the injury sustained in the rematch against Cena, Rock went home. Now, let me ask you this, because I'm just asking you this. I didn't even go online to look at it, but I'm convinced I haven't heard. If Rock had not got injured, and they did Rock and Brock, who was Taker scheduled to go against at 30?
At 30, I could have seen maybe a Sting deal happening since he was finished in January, but I don't honestly know. I would say once they knew Rock was out, they probably hadn't had, if they planned a year in advance for Brock, and they knew
the only thing planned a year in advance.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's
incidentally,
fair.
that's the one other thing that Batista said that I forgot. He said that he absolutely hated the streak being broken, that it was the wrong move, that it absolutely sucked, and that as a fan he was devastated, and I completely agree with him. Everyone in the industry is so afraid to say this because it was such a, because it was a moment, and because no one wants to be in the bad books of the only company in town. You can hear Steve Austin and Jim Ross holding back on it because they only spoke 2 weeks beforehand about how stupid it would be to ever end it. But it's good to hear somebody in the company acknowledge it was just sensationalism. For the sense of
I think it should have been broken. Not being there, I was in the building and I didn't. But retrospectively, when you look at the match and you look at Taker's, the shape of Taker, it probably was the right time.
I just don't think that that's the way he should be finished. I just don't see. That's not how the story ends. Well, it's just a very sad ending. Brock doesn't get anything from it because he works 6 months every 6 months.
It's going to be very interesting what they do with Brock now that he has that title he's holding around, and he will conceivably have the real figurative title as well after SummerSlam. Okay, very last thing on the news. Brian, we all know about this. Brian apprehended a burglar. Him and Bree were coming home. They saw 2 guys running out of the back porch. Brian was very concerned for his dog. So he chased after one of the men and took him down, rear naked choke, and held him until the authorities came.
Yep.
I think implication wise, I think that bodes really well for him.
See, I think it's just the wrong time. If this was 6 months from now, it would be great for him. But as it is, Vince will have forgotten by then.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like this stuff. People don't know how much this stuff matters. We all remember the story of Vince McMahon refusing to put the championship on Booker T for 6 months, or on Dave Batista because he'd been beaten up by Booker T in a fight.
That's right.
So your real life accomplishments count for something, but with Vince. But by the time Brian gets back, I don't see it counting for much, and very much Roman Reigns will be the apple of Vince's eye.
I'm telling you now, the thing that's going to scupper Roman Reigns is the return of Brian. I'm calling it now, and I'm also calling Sting and Triple H at WrestleMania. Okay. Speaking of WrestleMania, Raw's War took place in my very first...
Is it still Raw's War?
No, but I call it Monday Night Raw's War. It's been a little ongoing joke.
I call it the War Zone.
Ah, yeah, do you remember that? Second hour ads. It took place
It's still officially three separate hours now,
Oh, yeah. Well, they still have a little credit that comes up at the bottom.
Stupid.
It's the way the advertising works.
I know, but the advertisers are stupid, you know what I mean?
They probably are. So this took place in the Toyota Center in Houston, which was the site of my very first Raw TV taping, the night after WrestleMania 27.
Very nice.
The night after WrestleMania 25, where Dave came back. Do you remember that? So I saw Vince wrestle. Have you ever seen Vince wrestle?
Dave Batista. Have I ever seen Vince wrestle? Yes, unfortunately.
Fuck, when did you see him?
Not WrestleMania 26.
Let's
move along.
Let's move along. Okay, so it took place from Houston, Texas. We had John Cena out to cut a promo about Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, who had recently declared that the belt would be theirs the night before in the closing segment, the week before in the closing segment of Raw. Cena said some things here that I thought were ridiculous. He said his worst fear had come to light with Brock Lesnar. Like, did Steve Austin ever come out when Undertaker was number one contender and said, "My worst fear has come to light, I have to face the Undertaker"? I think this is, if I can give this for a segment a title, it would be A Tale of Two Promos. I thought Cena's first promo was the drizzling shits. And I thought after Heyman came out, which he did, told John Cena that he was going to be victimized by Brock Lesnar. John Cena shows a lot of heart, he's a lot of passion, but he's never been victimized, and this is what his client was going to do. Cena cuts a promo as a rebuttal to Heyman after this, and it's just unbelievably good. First promo, no good.
I think the material wasn't great in the first half. The material
Cena can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, but he doesn't, though. We all know that.
I think he does.
No,
I think he has this awful, horrible personality.
Dave talks about it all the time, that he does not... He reads what's given to him. He doesn't turn stuff down.
A lot of this stuff seems like so unique to him, though. I feel like a part of it must be coming from him, you know? You don't hear anybody else say certain things that he does. In a certain way. He literally was a walking billboard, and that's what Cesaro did. Cesaro came out, Heyman was on the top of the ramp. This was very interesting. I was like, stupid. I was kind of like, are they like going back on their word? But Cesaro came up, hugged Paul Heyman, grabbed the mic, said that he may not be a Paul Heyman guy anymore. They may have gone their separate ways, but he didn't want to see Cena disrespecting his friend. So Cesaro started off very shaky in this promo, but then got more confident, had great lines like telling Cena to stay there when Cena got out of the ring, and Cena went to pick up a mic and goes, "Don't you say anything." And that seemed very natural. It really seemed like he was saying it, and I enjoyed that. So he really played up to the hardcore fans. He said Cena can't wrestle. He said all these great little one-liners, and Cena challenged him to a match right then and there. So this match is very interesting. I was enjoying it. I had high hopes for it because the last match they had on Raw was fantastic last year. But Claire was watching with me and she just said Cena is just awful in this match. Would you agree?
I don't, he just is what he is.
People were particularly upset with Cena
Dave
last night.
Was, yeah. Dave
there was issues.
The podcast, I thought he was off his rocker. I just thought he was all right, But these Raw matches that don't mean anything don't resonate great with me. So it was a fine match, but with
I thought it was a fine match. They almost did the Bobby Lashley Great American Bash finish, not quite. It was an FU off the second turnbuckle rather than the top.
Please, Neil.
Sorry, attitude adjustment off the second turnbuckle. They hit all their finishes. It also featured his deadlift suplex, that he being Cesaro, the one he gives from the apron back to the inside, is probably the most impressive one, because usually the guy starts off with his feet on the bottom rope. Yeah. Cena was completely touching the apron when Cesaro got him in. Cesaro was impressive as always, looked fantastic, in fantastic shape as well. It's a loss, but I think he came out no worse than he went into it.
I think he's just very cold at the moment. And I don't really think this is going to impact on that either way. So then we moved backstage, and Steph was crying to Hunter about her stint in prison. Randy Orton came in, had some bad dialogue. Randy Orton is just awful in these backstage segments. He was demanding the championship match for SummerSlam. Hunter said no. Hunter said plans change, and that it was Reigns' fault, and as long as Reigns is around, he'll ruin any chance Orton has at the championship, which feels very much like they're just basically doing the same thing in two feuds with Rollins and Ambrose, as well as this.
In a way. But
that's the exact line.
But Rollins and Ambrose have the caveat that somebody turned on them.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's the exact same. Rollins won't win his championship until he's dealt with Ambrose.
But that's fine, because that's Triple H's way of keeping both his underlings on side while he gives the opportunity to Brock.
True, it just seems like lazy booking, whatever about the inner logic. So Hunter lit a fire under Roman or under Randy and sent him after Roman.
Paige came out next, and she cut a promo basically saying that even though what she did to AJ last week seems severe, she still considered them very much good friends. AJ came out and called Paige a Casper-looking crumpet. It's pretty good. AJ was a lot better, a lot more confident, I felt, in this promo.
AJ or Paige?
Paige, even.
She was, yeah.
I thought she was a lot more confident.
I think this feud is garbage.
I thought it was pretty good. She said that there's so much women featured on the show. We'll get to that. The main event, in fact, was a women's segment.
Yeah. Apparently, just reading here, the rating for the last hour was dreadful, so it didn't do well at
all. People aren't used to it, I suppose, because I did enjoy the last
good,
segment. Yeah. We'll get to that. Basically, this whole thing was played off by Paige telling AJ that she was crazy if she didn't believe Paige, playing up the whole AJ being crazy and taking tremendous offense to it. AJ accepted that she wasn't trying to antagonize her by using such a word, but then attacked Paige for a little bit of a brawl, and AJ got the better of it. Paige escaped and ran up the ramp saying, "We're supposed to be friends."
So next we had Steph and Hunter out. They were calling out Brie Bella to kind of deal with the situation. To do the segment they were doing in the main event, which
Hunter, by the way, here was incredible, telling the fans that he's never usually disappointed in them, but he was disappointed with them for laughing at his wife. I thought Hunter's so good.
He is very good.
The last 18 months he's been incredible. I say 18 months. He's been a heel now for just a year. It's only been a year,
Yeah,
hasn't
it's not even a year. Yeah, 11 months. So this was very strange because Brie wasn't in the building, and we would find that later on. So it seemed kind of weird that they were going to call her out. But anyway, Jericho came out, did his kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of middle of the road Chris Jericho babyface stuff, which didn't get over. I did think it was interesting that, as you said, he did the bad boys, what you gonna do, which is the theme tune from Cops, which I don't think that's coincidental that TNA gets cancelled and the next day WWE is referencing their lead in on Monday Night Raw. You know what I mean?
That is interesting. The Jericho's part peaked where he ran down the list of verbiage that ends with trash by code that he used to call Stephanie, and they cut off the whole part. Yeah. It was fantastic to hear, and it seemed like people remembered it as well, which I couldn't believe, because that's fucking, man, that's like what, 13 years ago when you're saying that. That was brilliant. Hunter was great.
He's lived on in clips though,
That's fair enough. Well, it's not like DX invading WCW. It's not like being overshown or anything like that.
So Rollins attacked him from behind the briefcase, and they set up a match for later on.
He also asked for a match with Wyatt that Triple H said will be happening, but not until SummerSlam.
So then we had Ziggler and the Usos against Miz and Ryback. Ryback pinned by Ziggler, am I right in saying?
Ryback was pinned by Ziggler.
The New Nation were at ringside as well here. So clearly they're building to fight the feud with the Usos.
Sure.
They didn't really get involved or anything. So
which is nice.
Then we had Bo Dallas against R-Truth, and if ever, Neil, you hear me moan a lot about how I just don't like modern wrestling, this is why. Bo Dallas was 14-0 coming into this match.
Bo.
What?
14-0.
14-0, yeah. And he comes out and does his usual one-dimensional promo that it's just such fast-forward material for me. It's just garbage, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just no real human being would ever be like this ever, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And then he gets rolled up and beaten by Truth, and then afterwards congratulates Truth and turns on him, beats him with the mic. I think it's important to show a little toughness here with this Bo Dallas character if they want him to mean anything. But clearly he's slotted in the mid card anyway, which is fine, which is where he should be. And Truth, I think there was talk that Truth was going to be involved in that New Nation. He could be a very strong mouthpiece for them.
Oh, I think he could be incredible. He might overshadow Xavier Woods, who they clearly have an idea of being a mouthpiece. Yeah, this was one of those things where it's kind of like, who gives a shit either way? But I do have an issue with
them
picking. I have a problem with them picking R-Truth. They could have done this to a babyface, and it would have got Bo over. Dolph Ziggler springs to mind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So Zeb and Jackie Swagger came out. Lana and Rusev were doing their usual America bashing. They kind of brought up George W. because they were in Houston.
Yes.
And then I thought we were going to get...
They're letting her speak again, so it's all blown over, it seems.
Yeah, apparently.
And the fact the feud's back on.
I thought we were going to get some sort of funny line about GW Bush, but Vince was a big GW fan, so...
he was, yeah.
That was when Swagger and Zeb came out. Zeb cut a great promo here. Really good material.
Horrible material. Fucking
It connected with the people.
Yeah, and that just says it all.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
I was
it was very... But you know what I mean? When I say good material...
I can tell by the look in his face as well. He is more comfortable talking about illegal immigrants than he was talking about America being about women... What do you say? Girls...
Pickup trucks, women, and beer.
It's like girls learning how to cook with their mother. It's like, what?
Yeah. But anyway, this all got big pop, and he did the We the People thing, and... They kind of they had a little bit of a brawl, and Rusev again was forced to back off. And there was a lot of mention of flags, Neil. So I think they've been listening to our podcast.
I'm so happy.
They seem to be doing my idea, don't they?
Not happy about people listening to our podcast. I couldn't give a toss about that. No.
I think Vince has a report of what's said in this on This Ain't Fake Brother on his desk on a Thursday morning.
Well, he's a very proud Irishman, and
God damn it, son, the Marshall kid.
He's very proud. He's a very proud Irishman, and as as somebody, as we are the longest running MMA wrestling radio hosts in the country.
In Knockline, anyway.
Okay.
Or wherever we are right now. Neil, okay, I'm going to give you a task.
Sure.
We are 44 minutes and almost 45 seconds into the show.
You're breaking kayfabe.
You have less than 30 seconds to discuss this Damien Sandow Adam Rose match.
Damien Sandow came out as a astronaut because they're in Houston, so you could say the tagline, Houston, we have a problem.
After Michael
Cole had already preempted the gag. He got in the ring. I can't remember what he was talking about. He was just
hot garbage, and he lost.
He was angry at something, and then Ambrose came out and beat him, and this was one of the more poor Damien Sandow segments of life.
Okay, so the next match was supposed to be Kane and Roman Reigns, and I sat there going, why on earth are they exposing Roman Reigns
Me
this
too.
badly?
When they said it originally that it was going to happen, I was like, sure.
So it didn't happen. Kane chokeslammed him after Orton had attacked him. Kane took his leave. Kane is in this really weird spot where they put him in main events, but then it doesn't really mean anything in between when he's in those spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And Orton just beat the fuck out of him. It lasted maybe 4 or 5 minutes. It was a good, solid beating. Orton was pretty good here. He did the draping DDT off the barricade onto the floor. He had some verbals in here. Big RKO on the table, which didn't break, which is almost kind of, usually it's kind of bad, but I thought it actually kind of worked here because then he did it a second time and it did break, and Orton really threw himself up there.
Yeah, he looked like he killed himself.
You know, I think Orton is so flat. I think his heel run has been awful. I think it's been 3 years since it's been interesting, and
his heel run has been very much, he's been an afterthought in the majority of his feuds. It's not helping him.
We talk about, one of the things I wanted to bring up with TNA was I felt guys like Christian, Booker T, and others benefited when they would go away for a few years and they would come back.
Yeah.
Which you don't have that option now if TNA is gone.
Yeah.
But I really feel like Randy Orton is someone who could deal with, who'd be really freshened up if he just disappeared. Like, I could happily not see a Randy Orton match for 3 years. I don't need any Garvin Stomps in my life. What did you think of the segment?
I thought it was okay. I thought it did build good heat. Two things I liked about it was the fact that Roman Reigns, it was very by the book, but at the same time, things that had preceded it made it feel a little bit more than just by the book. Those two things being Roman Reigns has always stood tall at pretty much the end of every segment he's been featured in recently, and this was him finally left laying. And the second thing was Randy Orton had passion, and he very rarely has had passion.
Yeah.
And he, it's kind of even hard to take it seriously because of the way his character has been. But at least he fucking tried. He was trying to make this match seem important.
Absolutely.
And that's great. It's always good to see.
All right, next up we had Diego of the Matadores, is that what they call?
El Matadores beating Fandango. I'm so over this Summer Rae, Layla, Fandango thing. So Layla looked lovely in her dress, but naturally, well, or unnaturally, in fact. But Layla and Summer, accompanied these guys, or accompanied Diego with Torito. This was the usual thing of them distracting Fandango in order for him to lose, and then celebrating with their flavour of the week being Fandango's opponent of the week. Yeah. The one great spot though is Fandango had Diego finished and was going for the top rope leg drop, and as a distraction for Fandango, Torito got up on the opposing turnbuckle and started gyrating to distract him. I thought that was fucking incredible.
Do you think that it's Rick Rude under the
hood? He's great physique.
Stephanie knocked on the Divas locker room door looking for Brie. Nikki answered and said Brie will be here later. Nikki wasn't great here. She's very
shit, mate.
What?
Nikki's awful.
Yeah, she's not great.
Brutal.
Just as deer in the headlights looked, it's very cute, but it's like she has two looks, either deer in the headlights or selling.
Yeah.
With one of her nipples, I suppose. Backstage, Goldust and Stardust do more of their stuff, looking for the Cosmic Key.
What's the Cosmic Key? Is it the Tag Team Championships?
They have it. Yes, it must be, of course. I didn't think of that. But them against the Usos?
No, man, doesn't make sense.
But that's
what is the Cosmic Key?
That could be direction for SummerSlam, couldn't it?
Yeah, there's a big Twitter campaign to try and get the Usos versus the Wyatts in a TLC at SummerSlam for a blow-off. That would have been great.
No, I think when you've got TLC coming up in December, I wouldn't do it. But
okay.
But yeah, and also I don't know that you're giving all those. You've got Ambrose Rollins, Cena, Lesnar. You've got Stephen Bray going to use all the gimmicks under the sun. You've got Orton, Reigns. So you kind of got four deep. I don't know that you need a TLC match then earlier in the show, unless you're going to give it 8-10 minutes or something.
When is this Cody and Goldust stuff going to stop?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot Jericho and Wyatt as well. If we're going for SummerSlam, then maybe it stops. Maybe is SummerSlam 3 weeks from Sunday? Then probably next week, I'd say.
Hope so. Okay, so we had Naomi and Natalya against Cameron and Alicia. Cameron was very much exposed in this match.
Not literally.
Naomi,
not like Nikki.
Not like Nikki last week. Naomi tried everything under the sun to work with her, and it just was terrific.
Naomi's new look is awful.
No, I thought it's been great. I thought this particular outfit, the pink one, was
I didn't
terrible.
say this is the first time I've seen her since they split.
Oh no, this isn't her new look. Her new look was something different and way better.
And she has like these braids in her hair, and she just
Look
looks
at the
like,
braids aren't great, but usually the outfit's
nah,
not
she looks
better.
like Whoopi Goldberg.
The pink that she had just to match with the pink that she the pink that she had to match Natalia was just kind of a far more stock outfit. No, her new outfit's been better.
But what the fuck is she wearing on her legs? Like, I don't know. This was a disaster to me. And they fucked up the finish, didn't they?
Go through it.
Did they? No, the finish was Naomi submitted Cameron with like, I don't know. It was like that kind of legs around the head thing.
Oh yeah.
But there was a blown spot, wasn't there? A badly blown spot. I think that there was some bump that looked messed up. I can't remember.
Look, probably. We had Jericho against Seth Rollins next. This was a fantastic match. Didn't last too long. Yeah, they worked great together, I thought.
Whenever I see a match like this, two things always go through my mind in the first 60 seconds of the match. One, why are they giving this away for the first time free on television? Now when it happens...
They definitely hadn't had a match, but I think they've had a match before.
Well, that's even worse.
Okay, great.
I
could be wrong.
When?
Maybe I'm thinking of RVD and Seth.
No, I don't think they have.
Right.
Jericho wasn't anywhere near the Shield in his last
That's true.
one.
No, you're completely right.
And two, I know they're not going to go to a finish, so it's just immediately, as a viewer, if I know this, I'm not going to get rewarded, then the match is just nothing to me. I also feel Jericho's whole run is very stale, and I think the years of booking him like an afterthought, not the years, I suppose it's just the last run, really hurt him. He just feels like a mid-card guy.
They're definitely trying to rehab it. They're trying to rehab it. They had the impression that he had Seth beaten. He went over wide in the first pay-per-view match. I think they're doing their best.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. I just feel like he feels like 2005, early 2005 Chris Jericho. You know
I guess that's fair. Okay, so the main event segment, which was great, had Stephanie come out, and before she asked Brie to come out, she said that she wanted... just for them to both put it behind them, and for basically Brie to drop all the charges. Brie came out and said she would drop the charges under certain conditions. So Stephanie asked what they were. Stephanie said, well, how about I give Nikki a raise? And she said yes. But she said that's not enough. She said she wanted her job back. Stephanie said there is one Bella is enough for the WWE. Don't be unreasonable. Then Brie proceeded to threaten her. I'll see you in court. So Stephanie said, fine, I'll give you your job back. But Nikki said Brie said there was one more thing. She wanted a match at SummerSlam. So
this was great.
Yeah. So Stephanie being
Total Divas Showcase.
Yeah.
A women's championship.
Being
It'll be
as condescending as possible. Said, oh, you want a Divas title shot? Or as Ken said, a Total Divas Showcase match. So she challenged Stephanie. Stephanie started saying that was ridiculous. She hadn't competed in 10 years. This just wasn't going to happen.
Is that, by the way, is that true? Probably is, isn't it?
When was her last match? Was her last match Vince?
In 2003.
Yeah.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So Nikki basically went over to the apron and said, I'll see you in court. Stephanie finally and reluctantly said, okay, I'll give you your match at SummerSlam.
This was the best bit, where she kind of burst into tears almost.
As soon as she realised she had to do this, she became a shell of a woman, crying, weeping, feeling so bad for the situation she'd been put in, until she ran over, knocked Brie off the apron, revealed that it was all a ruse. She was fine, and she said, I'm going to make you my bitch at SummerSlam. Then she started doing a yes chant, turned her back on Brie, who proceeded to run into the ring, attack Stephanie, and you had an all-out brawl. It was a fantastic brawl, considering it was Stephanie and Brie Bella, I think. Triple H came out, sending the goons, which featured the new agents, the new Renee Goulet, Pat Patterson, and Tony Garea of our time. So we have Finlay and Noble, and who's the third guy?
Dean Malenko?
Mercury, Joey Mercury.
Okay, yeah. And the crowd started chanting, Jamie Noble.
Yeah, they went off the air with Steph being restricted, and the chance for Jamie Noble. Fantastic. It was a killer segment, and it was a pretty solid Raw, all in all. The filler was filler, but they're definitely on their way to SummerSlam, and I wouldn't rate it as highly as last week's show, which is, by the way, everyone rated highly except you, it seems.
I liked this segment, except there was one thing that really bothered me. Brie's very, very first line was called Steph a rich bitch, and that was the first of 3 different bitch references in this segment, which felt very TNA to me, and also it felt like they were aware that That got the big reaction at the pay-per-view when Brie slapped her the first time.
Yeah.
And then they've done it again last week twice, if you recall. First off mic and then on mic.
Cena also
it's just like
with PG and pushing it, it's one of the few.
It's
they
not
can
that.
use.
It's just that it's so, especially in this segment, it just comes across so much as
it's
it
two
comes across
women.
like men writing for women. You know what I mean?
Okay, no, that's fair. That's a fair criticism.
So it was a decent angle.
Monday Night Raw's War.
Yeah.
Little thing, real quick. Did you see Cesaro and Ambrose from SmackDown?
No.
Okay, it's magic. Go ahead, you went to see it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do a little podcast review. Anything interesting or news bites or anything that you would recommend on MLW or The Observer this week?
The Observer, I thought Dave was fascinating with his rant today. Those who didn't hear it, Dave Meltzer went on an absolute rant for about 5 minutes about the performance of John Cena in that match with Cesaro, which he said it was worse than an indie worker. He said, if he went to an indie show, he would be appalled by how he was in this. One thing I wanted to mention from the Observer shows this week was the Bret Hart interview.
It was stock. But
yeah, for the most part, it was Bret Hart interview. The only part that I thought was interesting, I thought was actually quite nice, was
well, you're not thinking of what I'm thinking of.
Was the stuff to do with Rick, where he talked about how they'd kind of buried the hatchet, and he had flattering things to say about him. And I'm always, when I'm listening to Bret, I'm waiting for him to get that little barb in, But he didn't really, he kind of.
Bret is bitter and brutal at times, but
I don't know if I.
But his honesty can be appreciated, and what I appreciated was what he said about Scott Hall, which I couldn't
that's what I was coming to was. I think, because I'm actually in the process, my wife and I have just bought a Kindle, and I'm in the process of rereading his book.
Oh.
And, he's as brutal on himself as he is on other people, which I think is why you can kind of take what he says relatively balanced. And the stuff he said about Scott Hall, it's funny. I don't know if you follow the famous Front Row Brian on Twitter.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Okay, Front Row Brian is, for lack of a better term, he's a guerrilla MMA journalist. He has a lot of sources within MMA. He's friendly with Chael Sonnen, he's friendly with Malky Kawa, who's the manager of John Jones, and a lot of the top level guys. And basically what he will do is he will report a story when he gets a single source, whereas obviously journalists multi-source things,
Sure.
So obviously Chael Sonnen has used the term the bad guy a lot in the last few years. Referred to himself as the bad guy.
He has.
His t-shirt, he's got a walkout shirt for his Meta Morris show that he's doing, jiu-jitsu on next week, which is a story in itself. A couple of days after he gets a 2-year ban for HGH and EPO. But anyway, the t-shirt says, "Bad times don't last, bad guys do."
Yeah.
And Scott Hall was tweeting him, about royalties, and he has a big problem with Chael using the term the bad guy,
Okay.
And Front Row Brian kind of said kind of I can't remember exactly what he said, but he kind of told Scott to cool his jets, you know what I mean? And Scott started telling him to blow me, and he just started going after him. And it's one of those things. Anyone who's ever been through any kind of addiction recovery kind of program, there's a difference between not drinking and actually being sober. And Scott Hall doesn't seem like somebody who, judging by the way he behaves on Twitter and the stories of him and promoters recently, and what Bret Hart was said. For those who didn't hear the Observer show, Bret was talking about there was a card going around the locker room to be signed for it was a sick kid,
a terminally ill
kid,
yeah.
And Scott Hall refused to sign it.
Yeah,
and was kind of like, I didn't say I'd sign any card, and it sounded like Scott Hall of old being Scott Hall of old.
Oh, it's been acknowledged that he's drinking again.
Yeah, and
he's not living in DDP's.
Pages, yeah.
No, he's drinking again. You can't win them all.
No, but it was good to hear that Bret and Rick had mended fences, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was great.
Brett's Twitter handle now is a picture of him and Rick.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Not that picture he drew of Rick where Rick's horribly overweight and has a gusher coming out of his head.
No.
Because that was his Twitter picture for fucking ever.
Was it? Yeah. I didn't know that. I must go back and look at
that. Jericho had...
he just because people might not know, he mentioned that Rick had said to him that what Rick wrote about Bret in his book wasn't true because Rick had never even read his book, and then it was written by other people. And to be fair...
it's a very ghostwritten style book, Rick's book.
Yeah, because he talks about having alcoholic cardiomyopathy in the book, and then he sued somebody who wrote an article that he had it, and it was brought up in the lawsuit. Well, you said you have it in your book, and he said, I've never even read the book, so it doesn't seem like he had a lot to do with that book at all.
Okay, fair point. Jericho had Zack Ryder on and a Battleground review. What do you think? Did you listen to Zack Ryder?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of what you expect. he didn't outwardly, he seems to take it all in the stride, but you can hear he's kind of crestfallen by it all. And that story is, that's the ultimate. They tell you we want you to go out and get over, but if you go out and get over and they didn't have a plan for you, they're gonna fucking bury you 6 feet beneath the earth.
Yeah, I don't agree with the Zach thing. Like,
how can you not say that he was here? People can say he was one level in 2011, and they went out of their way to bury him, and I mean they're costing themselves so much in merchandise. He was the 3rd biggest merchandise seller in the company, Neil.
Yeah, well,
he was generating
there has
millions
to be a
of
reason,
dollars.
and the reason is I can only presume what I think, that he simply wasn't good enough.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if he wasn't good enough to be in main events. He was good enough to be at the level he was at.
I don't even know.
Of course he was. What really?
Yeah, I just thought he was going to get so tired so quick.
There's no way you can say that they made the most money out of that they could have.
No, I do, but I'm fine with that because I didn't have to endure loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of Zack Ryder segments.
Yeah, but
when Kane threw
the
him
business
off
should be about making money.
When Kane threw him off and I'm happy with people making money, but like I didn't care for it.
You didn't like it, so you're glad they nixed it. But that doesn't. It's still.
But I think they nixed it because when he got.
Listen,
thrown
we have
off
a friend who hates
by
Rey
Kane,
Mysterio and doesn't think he should.
Who
ever
hates
be.
Rey Mysterio?
Sean. He just doesn't like him.
Sean doesn't like Rey Mysterio.
He doesn't like him being in matches with bigger guys. He finds it a expose. You know what I mean?
Well, we need to get Sean on to talk.
Well,
about
yeah,
this.
we'll discuss that. But my point is, just because someone doesn't like something doesn't mean it's
I don't think he was the right guy, man.
I'm not saying he should have been main eventing WrestleMania. I'm saying
I think the merchandise thing wouldn't have lasted.
hang on.
I think it was because it was an internet
matter.
buzz.
Here's what I'm saying. Listen to me for a second. He got over to a certain level, and they then deliberately brought him down to a lower level. Why would you ever do that to any talent? Why would you not want somebody to be over?
Because maybe they thought he'd stink up the joint.
But then he wouldn't. Then he would naturally lower. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm glad I didn't have to sit through that because it would have inevitably happened.
I don't know.
I just don't like Zack Ryder.
That's your point.
It's a dual point. The Battleground review is interesting from Jericho because he said he was really, really, really happy with that match.
Of course he did. Jericho's always really happy with his match. I can't listen to him on his podcast.
Ross had AJ Styles on. AJ's been doing the round promoting the G1 tournament, so there wasn't much new information. But
this was also an old interview.
What was interesting was JR constantly referring to him as the one that got away.
Yeah, well, he is.
Yeah, he was very, very, very honest and disappointed that he didn't sign AJ. Who did AJ have that match with on Velocity? Was it Gregory Helms?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that was really good.
Yeah,
but would he have been Gregory Helms? No, it was Hurricane. Was it Hurricane versus AJ Styles?
I feel like it's Hurricane. Yeah, I feel like it's Hurricane.
Now, here's what I was talking about earlier. Did you, by any chance, when you were preparing for the show, go to see if Roddy Piper had anybody on and if it was worth listening to?
No. Why?
Episode 15 of
what's his name? What's his podcast called? In the Pit with Piper. In the Pit with Piper, I think. Isn't
it? Episode 15 was big wrestling star Samoan Joe.
Oh, Jesus God. Did he refer to him as Samoan Joe on the show?
I don't know. I couldn't listen to it. But when I went on to just do a little recap, all I saw was that it is everywhere as Samoan Joe.
That's quite astounding, isn't it?
I think so. I'm going to listen to it.
I'm sure he himself doesn't do his, the labeling of the shows, but
well, maybe he did call him Samoan Joe.
You could so imagine Piper doing that. Did you see around WrestleMania week when he was cutting interviews with Big Show by his side, talking about how Andre was so proud of Big Show?
Yeah, I do.
And oh god, he's just.
And Andre died,
to be honest, I thought that was really sad because it really exposed Piper. As
he has no self-awareness, or he's no awareness of the world. Like at one stage, like the way his mind works is kind of like, okay, if I can give Big Show the rub here by saying this. What he doesn't realize is that people who like wrestling know that this is an impossibility.
Yeah,
but he doesn't get that. Because wrestling fans aren't the way they were in the 80s.
Well, I'm even sure if he doesn't believe it in his own head. You know what I mean?
Really?
Well,
Stephanie also said that she was Big Show's friend when she was a child.
Like 3 years apart in age.
Yeah.
You're my big giant. I just garbage. Just absolute garbage.
I'll never understand that one. Because it's them. And like their dialogue is the most kind of like meticulously went through. Like it has to go through everybody and then through themselves and then through their own mouths.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, SmackDown. Do you have a date on this SmackDown?
This SmackDown was, I believe, August 27th of 1999, and I'm looking for my own notes here.
Okay, so this now, just to clarify again, this wasn't the very first SmackDown, the
The first
pilot.
SmackDown was actually in April, the
Yes.
night, the 4 days after Backlash
Yeah.
of 99, which was... I'm trying to think what that would have been. Steve Austin. Oh, it was just after The Rock had turned babyface. Okay, so this opened. This was just after SummerSlam. Okay,
Yeah.
Keep track of this course of events. SummerSlam was supposed to be Hunter and Austin
Yeah.
for the championship, with Hunter winning his first title, and he was not nearly ready at that point as well.
Mm-hmm.
A combination of Jesse Ventura being referee and it being in Minnesota and not wanting to raise the hand of a heel, along with Austin being reticent to do a JOB at the PPV for HHH. What a bomb. That's them changing that and adding a massively bloated Mick Foley to the match.
Why is Foley so bloated?
Because he'd been off for knee surgery and he'd been eating pizza at 3 o'clock in the morning.
That
If you
boy.
read his book, yeah.
Oh, boy.
He wasn't nearly ready, by the way. Both him and Austin were suffering with knee injuries here. So
Austin had a knee.
had a knee problem as well.
So Austin, by August, they didn't know that Austin was going.
No.
Okay, grand.
No. So they had a fairly mediocre match, if you recall, at SummerSlam.
Do you remember Austin getting caught in the ropes in that match?
Austin what?
Do you remember Austin getting caught in the ropes in that
His
match?
arm.
He has to like shout at Hunter and Jesse down. Get out. Do you not remember this?
No, not really.
Should please go back and watch it for next week.
I'll go watch it now
Okay,
tonight.
all right.
What we're going to talk about next week. Is it far into the match?
It's like halfway through.
Oh, crap, I'm going to have to watch the whole goddamn thing. Okay, so the next night in Raw, they did this thing where China, do you remember this? China and Hunter kind of split up.
Yeah.
So then they had a match between China and Hunter for a shot at Foley at the end of the night, which China won. Then they had a rematch an hour later, which Hunter won.
I do remember this.
The main event of the show was Hunter with China
Yeah.
against Foley. It was an awful match. China was out there selling her head because she'd been beaten up by Hunter in the match. And Hunter won.
Russo's still running wild here.
Oh, it's so wild, and we'll talk about the show.
Okay.
So the show opened with a recap of all that. My head already hurt. So he'd won the show. He'd won the title on Raw. This was the first show back at Kemper Arena
Since Owen.
Since Owen,
Yes.
on May 23rd, 1999, which I found interesting. They were there less than 3 months later, and 3 months and 4 days later. That's an awful quick turnaround. Isn't
Maybe
it?
they were just kind of, I don't know. Maybe they were just trying to just get. That wasn't the last show there, if you know what I mean.
I was immediately
back.
bothered by the fact there was no mention of him on the show, and there was no mention of him live as well. I just thought.
Are you sure about that? That there was no
Yes.
mention of him live?
Yeah.
Okay.
I went back and looked it up.
Okay.
Okay, so Hunter and China came out to Hunter's old music. I always found it very strange that Chris Warren and the DX band did the DX music and Vince's music, who were like polar opposites. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. That's
And
true.
now they were doing Hunter's music, which had the line "Yo, done, hit the switch," and it was like, what?
Yeah.
With your in lyrics.
Yeah, the lyrics in that song in general are just preposterous.
And believe it or not, I've actually written this on my notes, and without referencing them, I've said the exact same thing. Okay, so Rock, they show Rock walking around backstage in one of his horrendous shirts from back in the day, which are kind of tones of homosexuality in them. In hindsight, Hunter's voice here was completely unacceptable.
Yeah, no, his voice is his promo
I
wasn't
am
good
back.
either. The promo
Oh,
was
God.
not good. He wasn't there yet.
So he's growling the whole time. I'm doing my notes, by the way, off my telephone, which keeps locking itself like every 10 seconds. I don't know how to change that.
Just
because
keep your finger
a
on the
new phone, yeah.
Get your finger off the switch, done.
Okay, the promo that Triple H does is all puns around the word game. Rock comes out and references...
Rock is also not great here.
No, he wasn't. He references his $800 shirt, which was like a line out of Arrested Development, for anyone who's seen that show. I've written here, this is interminable. I just hated this segment. So, then Shawn Michaels comes out and makes the match for later on tonight and makes himself ref. And I'm like, Jesus, a lot went on.
Claire pointed this out to me because Claire watched it and got me to watch it again with her because she's just fascinated by 99 because there was a brief moment part she wasn't watching. And Sean's so built out of his head that he announces himself, even on the tape show, he announces himself twice. He goes, and I'll be the special guest ref. That's right. The ref tonight in the main event will be good old HBK.
So then I'm like, after watching that recap of all that mess from SummerSlam and then Raw and then this opening segment and then Sean making the match and making himself the ref, I'm like, breathe again, wait for the next segment. Then Shane McMahon comes out and makes himself the second guest referee, right?
Yes.
At this point I wrote, please end this segment. Sean then books another match later on, which is Shane McMahon versus Mankind, which apparently he can do because Shane is a contract wrestler since having his match with Test at SummerSlam.
Okay.
Foley then comes out, and I'm like, at this stage, I was ready just to shoot the television. However,
Foley
he goes,
rocking.
He made
he on the ramp, aren't they? This is nuts. This is literally insane.
He then refers to his $3 shirt, which actually, because I was so tense, just made me shit myself laughing.
Yeah, me too.
He does his the dozens.
And dozens, yeah.
Come on, you gotta do like the fans. The dozens!
And dozens!
Yeah.
There you go.
Of Mankind's fans gag. Foley and Rock rush the ring. They brawl with Shane and Mankind. 21 minutes of my life I am never getting back. Sweet love of God.
But see, here's the thing, and when we review these old shows, what you have to remember is the crowd are going fucking apeshit.
They really are.
And I don't get it.
No.
But I was going apeshit.
In 99?
Yeah.
I wasn't. I didn't like it. I just
didn't like 99.
No, I really didn't.
Retrospectively, and we're going to get to this more because
I missed the wrestling.
There's
just no wrestling on these shows anymore.
I've been watching 2002 compared to this, and me in 2002, and I'm the champion of 2002. I will champion
because then everyone under the sun.
Yes, and I couldn't get
except
enough
Sting.
Yeah, well, we'll go through all that later on, but I keep going. Yeah.
So Jarrett comes out with Miss Kitty and Deborah on his arm. This made absolutely no sense. His opponent was Billy Gunn. Who was apparently babyface after wrestling
The Rock at SummerSlam.
Yes, as a heel.
And
by the way, I've got really specific notes here. Okay, you're gonna like this. Chyna breaks a guitar over Deborah for the distraction.
She hits her in the shoulder with it, doesn't she?
Yeah.
I remember this. Just boffs her in the shoulder with the guitar.
The guitar is almost disintegrating before she hits her. Chyna wins with a roll up. Chyna wins. Gunn wins with a roll up, but then Chyna hits Billy with a low blow. Match time here, 2 minutes 50 seconds. Okay, I want you to write that down.
I like where this is going.
Okay. Al Snow interview backstage. He's begging the big boss man for Pepper, who is his dog that the boss man has kidnapped. Kane and X-Pac are out next for a tag team match. Very strange team in hindsight. I love looking back at strange teams.
Yeah,
Kane and X-Pac actually kind of worked.
I think so.
But great pyro they had as well, because Kane would do his...
Yeah, X-Pac would do his 1, 2, 3, and Kane would go
the
X's.
Yeah. So he had the orange and kind of green pyro behind them. The Acolytes come out and Big Taker.
And Acolytes don't have their Acolyte music yet.
They have that corporate ministry music.
Are they coming out that? Taker. Oh, this is the one with Taker on commentary.
Yeah,
isn't
Big
it?
Taker.
And Taker calls himself a colour commentator during it.
Yes.
Fucking hell.
So it was Kane and X-Pac against the Acolytes against Big Taker, which was Big Show and the Undertaker, where they were doing this weird gimmick where Taker was like a dominatrix and Big Show would just take it, which was taken from the fact that Taker really was like a hard ass on show backstage, and Kurt Show referenced that in podcast with Steve Austin. Taker, I've written here, was just burying the Big Show in commentary. It was just such a shoot.
Do you know why this happened, right?
What?
Do you know why Taker was so hard on Big Show? When Big Show came in, basically, right, this is the corruption of WCW boiling over. Because like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, right, essentially said, look, man, you won't have us when you go over there, you know?
Oh, yeah, so don't sell for anyone.
No, he said, they was just like, when you go over there, remember, you're the biggest guy in the locker room, you know, and you need to target somebody. You need to establish yourself. So supposedly, very early on, Big Show said to Taker, "Man, I can't wait to get in there with you. I'm going to blow you up. I'm going to blow you up. You won't be able to keep up with me." And Taker was just like, "This can't." And the thing is, because it's Big Show, it's like if it was anybody else, Taker would have probably killed them. But Taker was just like, "This, it's ridiculous."
Yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, so this was an awful match. Show and Taker at one point got into a brawl with each other, kind of to, like snap Show out of it, kind of thing. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then Show chokeslammed X-Pac for the pin. 3 minutes 15 seconds.
How close to the Harley Davidson promo was this?
Harley Davidson.
Do you remember the fuck? Come on,
Oh
Ken.
God!
Come on,
Very
yes.
close because
It had to be because
I
Taker
think- I
didn't
think it was
last
just
too
before
long.
SummerSlam, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
this team didn't last around. They did have great
gone
music.
in a
They had
week.
amazing music though.
Um,
Taker and Show.
Did they?
Their music was
Big
incredible.
Taker, Neil.
It
Big
was
Taker.
like the corporate mystery music, except a little bit different.
Okay. Test is backstage strutting back and forth by the entrance to the building in his ring gear, waiting an answer on his proposal. Bossman is out next. This always the Bossman's run when he came back. I mean, just Jesus. I have noted here he's clearly the father of the Shield. Judging by the ring gear.
Absolutely.
Roman Reigns could learn a thing or two from here. Just get rid of the trim and grow a gut. Snow comes out asking for his dog. He was actually good here, kind of getting sympathy, and that was always a decent promo.
Sure.
Bossman has the dog with him, and he's got a muzzle on it, which I thought was a good touch.
Oh, that was fucking gas. Because this dog is like the size of a bunny.
A chihuahua. So he leaves the dog with Lawler, and
Which I really enjoyed. The idea of Lawler going, what am I doing with this?
the whole idea here was that Bossman wants a shot at Al Snow's hardcore title.
And he'd give him Pepper back.
Yeah, and I was like, why doesn't he just insist Snow job to him? And I mean, Snow is wearing a Job Squad t-shirt, which, I don't know, it seemed like that was fairly clear. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned, the last match was 3 minutes 15 seconds long.
Okay, thank you.
And this match was... it ends when Al bails from the ring and tries to get the dog back, and I don't know if it's a count out or a DQ, but the match was 2 minutes 4 seconds all told. We got that down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Got it here, yeah.
This is astounding. Next up was the in-ring debut of Chris Jericho. Okay, first of all, DX was a fucking holy show at the moment, okay? So you have X-Pac, who's still coming out to some sort of DX theme music, wearing DX kind of gear and DX t-shirts. He's drinking some sort of a DX drink, I think it was. Remember the energy drink?
Okay, no.
You don't remember this?
No, I don't remember the DX
Yeah,
drink.
there was some drink. It was only ever him who was on it, but I doubt it was just a sponsorship for him. But then you have the thing with Billy in China earlier on.
Yeah.
Hunter's a heel, and then you have Road Dogg, was still kind of in that. It was just a mess in 1999. They never really, people forget that, you know what I mean? They had like a 4-month run, really, where they were good between sort of April and August 98. But anyway, then Triple H disappeared and all that stuff. Road Dogg was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Roll the dog a bone," which I think may have been a drug reference.
Good man.
I'm not sure. Fink is there at ringside with Chris Jericho, and he pours soda in Road Dogg's face for the heat. It really struck me how small Jericho is now, because this wasn't even his peak of size. His peak of size was
2002.
2002, yeah. So then Jericho goes out of the ring and gets a table.
Yeah, and I remember this finish, the double power bomb, right?
Yeah, he power bombs him on the ground and then lifts him up again,
Yeah.
powers him to the table, and loses via DQ. Match 4 minutes 10 seconds. Think about this. This is Chris Jericho, who, according to his book, WWF had guaranteed him $500,000 a year, downside guarantee.
Sure.
And this is his in-ring debut.
A DQ.
And if you recall, then very shortly thereafter, he was told, before you have any matches, go and run them by X-Pac because you don't know how to work.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Maybe they thought it would get him over if he did something fierce, like a table spot.
But
Like,
just, why is he debuting in the middle of SmackDown against the Road Dogg? And
I remember it so
why is he getting a table?
I remember it
It's
so well.
Sabu.
So he debuted the night after SummerSlam 99.
2 nights, yeah. No. His debut was a month ago. It was in the build-up
that's
to
right.
SummerSlam.
He's at SummerSlam 99.
Yeah.
Him and Road Dogg do an in-ring. Well, no,
Yeah.
Road Dogg's in the ring. He's on
He's
the...
on the
yeah,
stage,
I remember
yeah.
now, yeah.
Okay, so then Jericho and Fink are backstage, and I'd forgotten this. Jericho sends Fink out to confront Tony Chimmel, because Chimmel is...
I remember. This is fucking ridiculous.
Chimmel is like the replacement ring announcer, right? Which was... Lillian had replaced him on Raw as well.
Yeah.
The previous Monday, actually.
Yeah,
was the
Fink
first night.
had become solely an office worker at that stage.
I found it interesting. Fink came out to Warriors music, and Warriors hits, and nobody pops or reacts at all. which I found really interesting because there's no, you don't know that it's not Warrior. Do you know what I mean?
In
You remember when Bret Hart was in 2005? And
Oh,
people
Jesus. But like this, that's good because Warrior was being featured on WCW TV
6 months earlier.
up until November '98.
Yeah. So Fink does kind of a Warrior impression. Then he gets in the ring, he pushes down Chimmel. Chimmel kind of bails. So Jericho's at ringside with a mic, and he says that's going to leave a mark. So he's walking back up the ramp. Shamrock's coming out for his match, and they kind of bump into each other. And then as Shamrock has his back to him, Chris nails Shamrock with a chair shot, which was kind of Shamrock's thing, taking 6 chair shots. So bear in mind, we're at 40 minutes into the show at this point. Stephanie, so this is top of the hour. So this is the hour into the show. Stephanie invites Tess to the ring. She looks, I estimated 111 years younger, but I could be wrong.
She looks like a 19-year-old.
She does, yeah.
How old was she? She must be only about 22 or 3. So not
yeah,
far
I think
off.
she's close to 40 now. So, 1999, 15 years ago. Yeah, I don't think any of us look the same now, unfortunately.
No, 49.
The Mean Street Posse, Pete Cass, Joey Abs,
and
Rodney interrupts and brawls with Test. This is kind of coming off the whole Shane doesn't want someone dating his sister thing, which is as close as Vince ever got to his beloved incest angle. Foley makes a save, and this immediately segues into the match with Shane. Triple H hits Nick Foley, according to my notes, with a chair with the referee distracted, and Shane gets the win. This match is 4 minutes, and it's just a nothing happening match, just a brawl. Okay, next, Shamrock intimidates the Fink backstage.
So hold on, was that SmackDown match basically to completely blow off the mini feud between Jericho and Road Dogg so they can move straight on to Jericho?
Yeah.
And the Jericho Shamrock match never happens, doesn't it?
Where Jericho it's going to happen at the pay-per-view, and Shamrock gets injured and never comes back.
Okay,
X-Pac replaces Shamrock in the match.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So Shamrock intimidates the Fink backstage. The Fink pisses himself. Somewhere Vince McMahon goes, God damn! So then we see Tori, as in the pre-Tori Wilson Tori, Terry Puck of All Japan Pro Wrestling, walking backstage naked. We see her from behind, obviously. I've just written, okay then. This was just so over-scripted. It's just something had to be happening everywhere, every second of the entire show. You know what I mean?
Incredible.
You hear Vince Russo. I don't know if you've heard any of his podcasts.
Too many.
Have you ever heard of him? But
he likes to have everybody have a character, or everybody has a storyline.
He talks about how exhausted he was, and then when Vince wanted to add SmackDown, how it was like the straw that broke the camel's back because he couldn't do that level of scripting.
Yeah,
like because you were scripting it, so there's just too much to it. You know what I mean? It was such a, pardon my French, it was such a fucking chore watching this. Like,
sure,
trying to keep track of it. So. Then we have an Austin interview with Michael Cole about the knee injury from SummerSlam. I can't remember. Who did he wrestle in? He wasn't in that 6-pack in September, was he?
He was the outside enforcer for the 6-pack.
I see. And
then he comes back No Mercy against Hunter.
Oh, yes.
And then he's gone?
Yeah, then he's at Survivor Series, but he's not at Survivor Series. Okay. Good interview here. Is that kind of Steve being Steve, you know what I mean?
Sure.
There's no scripting. He's just... It's close enough to real. It's the kind of stuff that I always loved in like a Bret Hart or... Steve Austin.
Yes.
Okay, next we have Ivory against Tori in an evening gown match.
So now, have we not already seen Tori's ass at this stage? So what's the lore here?
Yeah. So what happens is, I don't know why we never really established why she's naked. So she's walking toward, she's walking through Gorilla toward the entrance ramp, and we see her from behind.
Yeah.
And the agents are all begging her to put some clothing on, and eventually, Jack Lanza gives her a shirt, which is, again, I'm sure because Vince wanted Lanza's flabby chest and man boobies to be shown. You know Vince McMahon was off stage just cackling. Give me a hint.
Give me your shirt.
This is so weird. So Tori rips off Ivory's evening gown, which is obviously the way it was going to finish, given Tori was naked under the shirt, allegedly, in 60 seconds. That's in your next match, 60 seconds, okay?
Thank you.
Next we have Lillian trying to interview Hunter, and China butts in, and there's just more game puns and game. Just Hunter and his droney voice. My wife, by the way, my wife has never seen that stuff, but she sees this stuff now and thinks he sounds like just like a drone. So God forbid if she ever had to watch any of this stuff. She watched a little bit of this with me, but I don't think she could take much more than that.
No.
We see Sean walking to the ring, the backstage shot, and he's got a Texas Wrestling Academy, which is his wrestling academy,
School, yes.
and he's like proudly kind of pointing to it, displaying it. I can't imagine that kind of thing. I don't think you'd see Booker T and his wrestling academy.
No. But see, Sean was just like
no, but it was just. Well, my point is, it's a different time. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah.
Mind you, CM Punk did get away with the Gracie Academy stuff this year, didn't he?
He does.
So did Dave.
Yeah.
But Vince doesn't know what that is, and Hunter and Steph are the best buddies with Eve, aren't they?
Exactly. So. Yeah. No, they love doing jiu-jitsu now, supposedly.
Yeah, I can just see Hunter sitting there going. Just he stand there. He's like, tackle, drop down, get it again. You know what I mean? Okay. Then we come to the main event. Rock and Hunter. They went about 10 minutes and a couple of seconds. If you want to take that down for our total and pass it over to me.
How many seconds do we?
What?
Do you know how
many
many
seconds? I don't have many seconds. It was right on 10 minutes, like a couple of seconds.
Okay.
So the finish of this is Rock has Hunter down after a slam. He's going for his big elbow. And if you know what you're looking for, you can see Sean kind of preparing, getting in position for his super kick. He blasts Rock with a great super kick. Hunter gets the pin, and we celebrate with the heels going off the air. And
I want you to guess. I want you to guess how long it is.
Guess. Okay.
Yeah, I have it. It's done.
I'm going to guess 28 minutes.
It's 26:20.
26 minutes. Okay, so 2-hour wrestling show with... But here's the thing. How many matches were there in 26 minutes?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So 7. So average is about 3.5 minutes a match.
There you go.
Yeah,
yeah, that looks right.
That's this show. I mean, just to give an overview, Neil, I
yes.
thought this was just garbage. Nothing got my investment. Even the main event stuff, which, if you think about it, the first 21 minutes of the show are about that, and with entrances, the last sort of 18 minutes. So about a third of the whole 2 hours was Rock Hunter, which is probably right, but just because of the context of the championship changing hands on Sunday, the number one contendership changing hands twice on Monday, the late additions to the original SummerSlam match, and then this here, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important for us to know, just when we're encapsulating this piece of time, you're damn right, these people are going fucking nuts. And
absolutely everything. They lapped up everything. Everyone was
Russo
really over.
Always talks about how important it was for him to give everybody a gimmick, a character, a storyline. You can't disagree. There was no Adam Rose and Damien Sandow, just out drowning in the middle of the show.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to take that from him, but Jesus, this was hard to watch in hindsight. I mean, it was awful television, I thought, for the most part.
It gets worse, Ken.
Does it?
Did you see what the next SmackDown is?
No.
Okay, well, by words means better. I would like to nominate... Now, listen, I nominated this SmackDown, so if you want to nominate the next that's fine. But the next SmackDown that we're going to watch whenever we watch it, that's been put up from 1999, is the one that features...
Oh, it's the Arnie one?
Arnie one, which is also...
Vince?
Winning... No, that's not that one. It is, among other things, the SmackDown that features the Big Show funeral angle.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah. But you would not believe some of the shit on this show.
Yeah.
The amount of times that DX allude to raping Stephanie is just...
Really?
Oh, it's incredible. I couldn't believe it I was seeing.
So you've actually watched the show?
I've watched the first half of it.
Okay, I hope you took notes.
Huh?
I hope you took notes.
No, I'll go back. Okay. But
anyway,
do you have a suggestion? Do you have something in mind that we're going to do for next
week?
week?
I don't know. Part of me wanted to suggest something WWE because I'm just watching it all at the moment.
I'm good.
I kind of thought, to be fair to the network, perhaps we should watch an ECW show. WCW, then WWF, then ECW, then rotate it.
Okay, so do you want to go with a pay-per-view, or do you want to go with one of their... What do they have? They've got a lot of 95 TVs up.
Yeah, but those are only about 40 minutes long, so, if we're really going to torture ourselves. But then again, their pay-per-views... I mean, the best pay-per-views were
Heatwave 99.
Heatwave 98. That's their best show, and I've watched bits of that recently. I mean, why don't we just go with that?
Can we go Heatwave 98?
Yeah, we'll go with Heatwave 98.
Sound. Okay, well, look, we're just coming up on an hour and a half. We'll leave it there, so with a bit of music at the end.
Hang on a second. Bill O'Hurley is 2 weeks and 2 days retired, and you just said we'll leave it there, so...
What you haven't been noticing is...
You're taking the gimmick.
When I'm asking you questions, I am saying, so what do you think of that? So what do you think of that?
Yeah. You're not playing with your pen, though.
I was fucking wanking the thing the whole time, I swear I was.
I was fucking drove mad watching him on television,
Yeah, I know.
I would do it as well, though.
He was quite fidgety, wasn't he?
I'm a fidgety man. I mean, these wrestling figures here.
Why do people have a lot of science to say R.I.P. Bill O'Hurley when they're doing tributes to him?
I don't know. I don't believe he's dead. So.
No, I'm pretty sure he isn't.
No.
But anyway.
By the way, we should tell the people we have no MMA show this week.
That I was going to get to a bit of housekeeping. We will be on air on 103.2 FM this coming Sunday, and we'll be on at 4 o'clock. That is the... I can't see it from here. That's the 3rd. Yeah, so tune in 4 o'clock on the 3rd, 103.2 FM. Yes.
2 questions on MMA, and we'll be literally 30 seconds.
We won't be, but go on.
Okay, it is literally 2 questions.
Okay.
Vitor, was his punishment or lack thereof, was he treated fairly, or was it too lenient or too harsh?
Too lenient.
Too lenient?
Okay.
Chael, fairly, too lenient, too harsh?
Too harsh.
Okay.
You agree?
Definitely Vitor too lenient. Because of his punishment, Chael's looks harsh, but I don't really see any option. HGH, EPO, 3 other foreign systems in his system. Clearly been lying on television. Not the first time he's been caught out. You know, he'd done a year previously, so it's a long time. Maybe 18 months would have been reasonable, but to me, his career is over. Once they went over a year, his career was over, you know.
Absolutely. So. Okay, well, look, we'll touch on that on Sunday. If you don't catch us live, that will be up on thisaintfake.com on Monday. And we'll be back with another episode of This Ain't Fake, Brother. Same time next week. From Ken, I've been Neil, and we'll talk to you soon.